Yeah, so let me show you my most important take back from Hawaii.
Oh, cool.
So I
Was
did
that the odd?
some,
Does that represent the audience?
yeah, I actually made almost a joke out of it. I know I did actually by saying, hey, I'm working with civil contractors is like working with sharks, only that they the audio, the civil guys show more teeth, right? And anyway, so here's what I did. Look, let me just go. Did some cage shark diving. That was funny, yeah. And you could have actually touched those babies, but you were advised not to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though you have redundancy in terms of hand and feet, you might lose them. Anyway, let me go. Can you see the screen? So can you see the actual presentation now?
Yes, it's good. Yep.
Yeah, so what I was doing is, and I can show you actually on the actual, as a teaser, on the actual slide is here. It's basically what I have done over the last 10 plus years. I actually started in 2010. I worked on high-speed rail. And before that, I had worked for another 3.5 years or so on another big civil program. I don't know what got me into this. I mean, I know what, yeah, but anyways. So I have like 15 years now as a systems engineer in the civil world, and have given, starting and with the first one, given a number of presentations of how systems engineering could work or should work in the infrastructure or transportation world. And basically this whole thing was, let me actually show you, is the idea was we had issued 3 contracts. We called them CPs for construction packages 1 to 4. 2 and 3 were combined, and they were coming almost to an end, right? And so they're about to be finished fairly soon. And then new contracts were issued. And the idea was to take all the lessons learned we applied and refine our systems engineering requirements, right? Which is number 2 here. And then also, this is basically what I'm saying, 3 new contracts issued. So we have extensions to the north and south. We have a station contract now. And then there's the whole idea of track and systems and train sets. So there's many more contracts coming. But at the same time, WSP's involvement comes to an end with high-speed rail. It was already supposed to end for civil guys last year, December, for us in June. And so it's still limping along, right? They extended this another time until the end of the year. But basically, the whole idea was this would end and we would move on. And so for me, that meant this would be the last time I can write about high-speed rail. So this is really nothing more than memorializing, almost like my memoir, so to speak, right? And so this was the whole idea. And then turning this into some practical hands-on advice or experience. And then also the US, I'm not sure you know, but they issued or have a bill now, a law, right, for $1 trillion US infrastructure bill. And I figured, hey, I've been there, right? I've done this for a number of years. If you want to learn from it, if you want to take some advice, here you go. If not, be my guest. Yeah. And that's the whole idea of this presentation. Basically, all the lessons learned, and then just saying, hey, like, right, we have over 300 structures, and I'm not going into the details. And then let me just show you the next slide, which is basically in 2014, right? It was one of the papers I showed. It's like, first, let's get away from paper, right? And this was my prior project I was talking about. They had like certain safety certifications by scribbling in on real paper. It's like, no, let's not do this, yeah? Then also applying requirements-based reviews. It's like, surprise, surprise, we actually intend to meet those requirements and you show us, right? And then having a holistic approach, and then dreaming, like in 2014, it's like, hey, one day we might actually do MBSE, yeah. And then my whole story is, and this is what it looks in reality, yeah. So my dream of here's how this all could work. This is, look at this, some wooden beams, some concrete on top, some steel beams, and then they just drill and pour some concrete for those foundations. That is how that works in reality, yeah.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I've been there, done this for 10 years now. I'm kind of jokingly saying I've done my duty for my country, right? So the next systems engineer, please. I'm moving on. That's what I'm saying. And this is what this presentation is all about. So far, so
Okay.
bad as a teaser.
Oh, sorry, I missed what the last thing you
I
said. I
said,
cut
so
you off.
that's basically for my teaser. Anything else
Okay.
you want to see?
No, I mean, I'll leave it up to others, but that's fantastic. Really looking forward to to this. And you did this as a paper, right? This was also a
Yeah,
paper
it's
that
a real paper,
that we can
right?
read.
And then,
Yeah.
so the whole idea was really, if I'm going back for a second here, right, was to memorialize and saying, because you keep saying, this is what you should be doing. It's like, and then people typically would say, well, do you have anything I can read? And so the whole idea was to write this all down. And
Yeah.
then good-hearted, honest, right? Whatever. If you want to have an honest effort, then here it is. It's all written down. And if you like it, then be my guest, right? Copy it. I don't know. Pretend it's yours. I don't really care. Yeah. My heart is in systems engineering, and I truly believe it can be applied, obviously, even to construction. And I just wanted to go on paper and then move on to greener pastures, I guess, which is really, as I said the last time, I really want to do some more technology stuff, MBSE and the likes. As I like to say, is I don't really care how, let's say, old the processes or procedures are, as long as people are willing, right? The willing and able part. But this industry is not even willing. Yeah. And that's the frustrating part. You can,
Yeah.
whatever you do, right? You do something in here, you can point to holds galore and issues galore by saying you should be really doing this, because if you did, you would avoid all of those issues. But man, there's so many wrong incentives in the industry to just cut corners left and right. Yeah. And so I'm kind of, as you can sense, I'm really kind of getting frustrated with this whole industry, and I'm saying I'm done with it, at least the infrastructure part.
So using that as a segue, did you, Oliver, or anybody else in the call attend Jen's panel, which I think was it on Monday or Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday.
Yeah, actually more than one. At least you participated in more than one. Which one was that?
The one where myself and Randy were supposed to be on. I can't remember what it was called, but it was practical applications.
I was in one, but I can tell that one I joined for like an hour or so, or 45 minutes, basically for the first session. And it was also sparsely populated only. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the reason I mention it is your last comment triggered the thought that Randy Iliff, who I had mentioned earlier, is also, one of the founders of INCOSE. He's, I don't know, I think he said his membership number is 48. Mine's a little bit bigger, like by several digits. Anyway, he was going to make some fairly bold, and he has the right to do it since he's a founder, some very bold comments with respect to INCOSE writ large, along the lines of, we've been at this for 35 years intensely, and we're not succeeding. We're only succeeding where we had already succeeded, like Mill Aerospace. It's getting better, and of course there's now model-based tools that make it much more accurate and efficient and I think more intuitive, to be honest. And yet there's so many other places on the planet, infrastructure being one of them, where we're really we being INCOSE aren't doing a good enough job. Why is that? So he was gonna pose his questions really directly at INCOSE and its methodology and its branding. And so I really wanted to see that. I hope it was recorded, because I would ask anybody on the call if they're interested, just see if you can find that recording. I hope it's there. If you registered for the conference, in theory, you have a link
so
to it.
let me try something quickly. Yeah.
Okay.
So we can do this live. Yeah. So basically what I'm doing right now is basically doing this live. So I'm going to INCOSE.
It sort of ties in with what you were saying, Oliver.
Yeah, I know. Look, I know what you're looking for. Yes, I'm logging into that conference thing, and then if you can tell me which day it was, then I can.
Pretty sure it was Tuesday.
Okay, so let's take a look here, right? And so basically the on-site program, and it was Tuesday, you said. And then if I'm looking for Randy, is that how he moderated this one? Yeah, the innovative edge of, is that? Yeah, this one here, yeah.
That's it, the innovative edge, yeah.
Download the presentation. So I can download, but I'm not, I don't think I can record the whole session, but I can download the presentation.
Ah, okay.
And
So it looks like they
so,
brought Megan O'Neill in to replace me
yeah,
then.
this one I don't, oh, look at this. I mean, it's only like, that's it, right? There's nothing more.
Oh, that's right. She was trying to do. Yeah, that's right. I'd forgotten. She was trying to do a minimalist slide thing and just make it about the conversation. So yeah, there's probably not much written down. I had done about a
Unless you can
dozen
tell me
slides
how
on
I
it.
can, yeah, unless maybe I can, if there's some way of downloading that thing, but I'm not sure I can, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. It's I'm just curious to see, because Randy wasn't even sure when I last talked to him, if how he was going to frame it. He said he was going to kind of do it on the fly a little bit. So maybe it'd be very interesting to hear what one of the founders thinks of how INCOSE's performed, in regards to, spreading the word, getting folks interested, creating alliances. And the impression I got from him is that we've done really well where we were already doing well. We've gotten
Yeah, so
better.
it goes
We've
back to the
gotten better.
willing and able, I hate to say, yeah, to people who think it's a good thing, they will do more. That's a
Yeah,
willing
yeah,
part, right? And then being able, you would just use more and more of whatever sophisticated technology there is, whether it's
exactly. Like
MBSE
MBSE
and yeah.
tools. Yeah, exactly.
Um, but then it comes down to the people like you and us, right? And in being really passionate about it and trying to do the right thing. But boy, you can get really frustrated, right? If everyone else just says, "Get off my back." Yeah.
Yeah, because there's, money to exchange.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
I mean
Yeah.
I have been able to do many different things. Yeah, the one, and I really also got a lot of it. Really, almost about halftime. It was almost like this famous curve, right? First, where it's super excitement, and then was it like the trough of disappointment or whatever that's called? Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah.
then
Yeah.
at some point in time, you really start getting some, solid ground under your feet, and you start doing. You can almost see that in my presentations, by the way. Yeah, I was super excited at the beginning, and then look at this. I
Yeah.
don't need requirements. I know what I'm doing. Yeah, or
Right.
we don't need you guys, right? So that was the title, San Diego. We do not have a problem. Get out, get away. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was really the disappointing part. And then here at the end, I was really able to do many things, good things. But what also happens is now with the consultants being replaced and the authority becoming a huge bureaucracy, you have a lot of institutional loss of knowledge by people just moving on.
Yeah.
And I feel like I jokingly said I feel like the man in black, yeah, by looking to the pen and then whoosh, right, and then all the new people saying, "What is systems engineering again? Yeah, why should we be doing this?" I feel like traveling back 15 years in time and having to start all over again.
Yeah.
That's a
Sorry.
really good point. So that's something we've been looking at Stantec, and in our team is obviously you get a lot of churn with people, and you got a lot of experience coming in with projects, and we're now identifying that actually MBSE or developing model-based engineering, you can actually capture all that good knowledge in the models. So you don't actually, obviously you still got experienced people and everything you need, but if they go out the door, at least you've got a reference of like, oh, okay, as you build the model, you can build the rationale into the artifacts and everything else like that. Why did you do that approach and everything? And if you're doing the model seriously, you kind of been putting, documentation against all the artifacts and the reasoning and the rationale. And actually, when those people do move on, retire, whatever they need to do, at least you've got it all captured. It's something Airbus started doing when I was there back in 2005.
Sounds like a good
Yeah.
paper.
Yeah, they call it knowledge-based engineering. And what they did, that anybody who was retiring had to spend 2 months before they retired sitting with the KBE team to just basically download all their knowledge into a database and everything else like that.
But it sounds like something the company is aware of and promoting, right? But if you work in a company that is not doing that, then it's not. Look, it's not that we are not documenting things. We have policies and plans and procedures. Everything is documented. The problem is only that it's just paper. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're looking at that saying, okay, how do we move that? Well, if we put them into the models, then that means when we go back to refer the models, we can say, okay, yeah, let's look at all the notes and all the everything, and we can
Yeah, but
start
a
looking
model
at.
is just another repository. Whether you have something on paper and a model, I think the real driver behind it is that you actually care about knowledge transfer.
Well, absolutely, but where do you put it, and how do you access it? That's the other question.
I mean, Dale, you changed a few times of companies, right? It's like, did whoever company you work for, did they actually say like 2 months of, before, it's like, let's sit down and write it all down, what's in your head? Have you ever seen that?
No, and I mean, well, just checking to see
I
who's
saw
on
it there, but
I almost changed again in December. And yeah, it's all the same frustrations that you've expressed, Oliver, it's all talk.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you've
it
got a
really comes in
company
here.
that's making hundreds of millions of dollars that won't even invest in a couple of licenses of a tool that I could even afford to maybe, buy one license of. And when you see, okay, that's the actual, level of commitment. What's that old expression? Money talks and BS walks kind of thing. I mean, that's really the level of commitment that they're making is, well, zero. If the project buys the tool, and I'm just using tool as an example because it kind of, I guess it's a synonym for the whole experience, the whole SE experience. Then, if the project buys into the processes, the whole life cycle approach, then the company all of a sudden panics and responds and says, oh, well, yeah, but they don't do it in advance because they don't believe in it and they're not committed to it. They're stuck in a rut that's been going on
That
for.
comes down to incentives, and so
Yeah,
if you work,
exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, in the US, I mean, of course, we are consulting companies, yeah. So, but then again, we work for agencies, typically, or sometimes private, enterprises, but in the consulting world. But I can tell you that the biggest driving factor incentive is what's called utilization, meaning how many hours you can charge the
Yes.
project.
Yes.
And if you now said, oh, forget about for 2 months, right? I'm not charging my salary to a project, but to the company for knowledge transfer, I can tell you that manager would get in trouble for saying, how come he's not billable, even if you're about to leave? And but there's just perverse incentives of not caring about long-term incentives, right? Or benefits. It's all about just this month or next month, the numbers you're reporting week by week. And that's really what the issue is. It's
And if you combine that with, and you just provided a perfect example of it, Oliver, in your bullet number 4 on the screen there, this phenomena that we kind of coined or tried to coin in the quality management working group at INCOSE of accountability fade, this phenomena where as people are shifting in and out of projects, there's not really any accountability. So, because people aren't there long enough to be accountable for, for these big long-term projects.
Yeah, it kind of gets so cloudy that if people changing, even in the same, let's say, phase of in the US, right? We call it preliminary engineering, final design, or construction. Doesn't really matter. It's like if people come and go, there's no traceability back to who really caused that issue.
Exactly.
And I mean, I don't want to hog all the time, yeah, but I tell you one story is we had a chief engineer, I kid you not, right? Like really, and it was all about cost saving at some point in time. He said, oh, let's just make the tunnel smaller. And we save millions of dollars because tunnels are really expensive. But when you make the tunnel smaller, that means the trains have to run slower because of the air pressure, right? And all the likes. And so he torpedoed the performance requirements of a project, but that would not to be seen within the next 10 years, but he was the hero of the day. And now he's gone, long time, yeah?
Yeah, that's a
Nobody can
perfect
remember
example.
that he was the one, but he was the hero. Really, it's like, oh, you saved like hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, yeah, you could even save more money by just not building anything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like safety, right? The safest trains are the ones that are not moving. I'm sorry, but you have to find like a balancing, like a trade-off, a balancing act between, a good performance and cost and whatever and safety. And so long story short is that's just perverse incentives and they really drive decisions of people. And the incentive is not actually, let me show you this one thing I'm saying in here, this here, right? Disincentives for systems engineering. Any design and construction firm proposing additional unsolicited work, meaning
Oh, the slide,
SE as
the
an
slide didn't
upfront.
change, Oliver.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
there it is. It's just
Oh, was
slow.
it? Yeah.
It's there now. Yeah.
Can you see it? So basically saying any design construction firm, right, proposing additional unsolicited work, meaning SE as an upfront investment in a firm fixed price and low bid environment will be at a competitive disadvantage due to increased bid cost and may consequently lose the bid. Meaning is if you want to do the right thing in this environment, it's just absolutely frowned upon of increasing the cost. And we learn all the time SE is an upfront investment. But nobody cares because right now it's only about whatever, right? Preliminary engineering or environmental review or you name it. Nobody cares because, and then even if you do care and you want to do the right thing, you get punished for doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I
Short
actually
term.
have 3 pages in the paper. This is just a summary in here, yeah? But I have 3 pages in the paper of saying, hey, don't you dare coming from the, I don't know, defense industry or Airbus or whatever, yeah? Like aerospace defense. And trying to do the same thing, it's just not going to fly. And one of the most important, obvious ones, right? This one here, systems engineering, is even considered not applicable because it's misunderstood as the engineering of systems.
Yeah. God.
And I kid you not, I worked, in one of the sub projects I had, right? It's like requirements. I kid the agency people coming from Caltrans, right? Having basically building highways saying, oh, we expect our consultants to know all the requirements or be familiar with. It's like, why do we need requirements management? That's the level of sophistication we're dealing with here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading your paper. I'll probably spend half the time crying and half the time laughing.
Yeah.
Having
anyway, back
shared
to you,
opinion.
I guess. Whoever you want to share.
Oh yeah,
something.
sure. If you guys are, that was great conversation.
That was. Oliver, it brings in kind of this generational thing. I mean, as people move on and retire, you have another group of people taking their place, but they don't always have the same experience and have to actually be retrained, re-educated,
Yeah, and so this,
Right
I
up
mean,
to
you
date.
could argue this is for me a form of, how can I say, of knowledge transfer, right? Of writing it down.
Yeah.
It just happens to be a paper, but if you're willing to read the paper, then you might learn something, or you don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know. Can you guys see my presentation? I'm trying to switch to
I can see
presentation mode.
Yeah.
Is it in presentation mode or I can't tell with
No,
Zoom?
it's only the normal.
Okay, so
version.
slideshow from beginning. Maybe that'll work. Oh, there. Is that working?
Yeah. Now it looks like a
Okay,
normal.
so this was the first, this is actually the opening session 1.1, that I showed up for and they sent me home. But so it was really trying to be sort of our working group's position, all the things that we've discussed and learned over the years. And the whole basis for this fuse was the PESTLE framework. We're trying to wrap the PESTLE framework around each of our positions. So I tried to do it sort of some kind of a tracing effect where I created these symbols and I put them in the upper right hand corner to kind of show against each one of my slides to see if I was considering the political or the economic or the socio-cultural. I mean, I found that the irony of the whole discussion was if as systems engineers, we're not considering all 6 of these things anyway, then we're missing a bunch of stakeholder viewpoints and we're really not doing our job. But anyway, I tried to conform to the PESTLE.
Yeah, you're not often allowed either, right? Because that's not considered even your playground. That's what the project managers are all about and whatever, right? The business managers and so
exactly.
You're just basically put into the, you're an engineer, so shut up, go into your technological bucket and then be quiet about it.
Go design something, but I don't have any requirements. Just design something. Yeah. So, and then the idea that these 6 factors are, of course, not silos. They're supposed to be interdependent. So I tried to frame this whole thing that there's a lot of change that's swirling around, transportation. We've already seen some of it. with the you know, the ride share. It's not well integrated. It was a solution followed later by a problem analysis, and you know, the free market created the need, you know, and the solution was there, and we'll figure out how to integrate it better sometime. And there's all these other things that are going on. I mean, we had discussions with the the automotive working group, and one of the I think it was Ford, actually, Ford or Fiat, mentioned that, you know, they're targeting for a potential future where private ownership of vehicles won't be a thing, or at least it won't be a much of a thing. It'll be more, you know, like maybe a transit agency or some fleet owner buying leasing vehicles. So that was an interesting differentiation. It'd be interesting to see how that plays in you know, in a state like California, where the
Remember they
cars
said once paper will go out of style when everything was done on computers?
yeah, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, yeah, and Abitibi Paper Corporation is still laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and there's bus rapid transit versus rail, where you know, you can use the existing highways, because we're all about highways, because rail's so expensive. So, you know, there's those things. Fuel cells are coming into their own, you know, multi-mode transit app. So there's all this stuff that's happening around, you know, transportation organizations. And there's some mega trends, of course, that I find interesting, because, you know, we've got remote working, remote healthcare, remote shopping. So goods and services are moving to people, not the other way. You still can't replace, you know, the human contact, but we're struggling and finding ways to try to remain our humanity and our connections. But there's additional realities, you know, that the fares don't really cover the costs. It's all got to be subsidized. Ridership is low and falling from the pandemic. It's creeping up in some places where there aren't alternatives, like New York City, but, you know, in a lot of cases, it is not recovering, and it's not getting better. The infrastructure is old, and the wages are terrible. I know, because they tried to hire me at MARTA, and we just couldn't make it work. So, and we've got all these, you know, these wonderful things in the news. These are articles. This is from Ottawa. Here's another one from Denver. I think probably everybody on the call is familiar with. You know, they spent hundreds of millions of dollars, and now they're paying people to stand there with a stop sign and a high-vis vest, you know, to be the safety measure. So that was successful. And this will be near and dear to the heart of Oliver. You know, when you start looking at the political lens of what compromises were made, and this article is pretty well done, I think. And I love what some of the original managers said, you know, like Wall Street investment banker, the first guy, I spent my time and didn't succeed. I realized that the system didn't work. I don't know what system he's referring to, probably the construction industry. I don't know. It was very vague. I just wasn't smart enough. I don't know how they can build it now. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, these are the people running the show. So anyway, so why, you know, the problem analysis and current observations and trend, you know, we're not really talking with our stakeholders, and we're not investing in that. We pretend to. We don't really have goals and objectives properly defined. We pretend to do that as well. And you end up with a lot of RFP issues. Timescales are just out of whack. We don't spend any money or effort in these early discussions. And the project, excuse me, sorry about that. The design build is a mismatch with you know, the methodology. If you're going to do design build, you probably need system requirements to kick that off. But anyway, so this is one view of a you know, life cycle. I mean, the one at the top you can't argue with. It's the ISO 24, I can't remember the number now, 24748, I think. Standardized life cycle for anything. You know, you have a concept, you develop it, you make it, you use it, you support it, and then you get rid of it or rehab it or whatever. So here's our first crack within the SLE subcommittee as to what a typical, you know, transit project life cycle might be defined as. A lot of projects I've been on sort of start somewhere in the preliminary design area, and there's not any systems engineering applied to, you know, designing the actual project, planning the business, designing the procurement. You know, the procurement just happens because that's the way we've done it for 100 years. So, you know, they're siloed. So the typical characteristics are projects teams are mobilized, you know, same thing we did last time. So let's not spend any money on that or think about it too hard. Of course, the usual culprits of all these planning documents do it NTP plus 30, becomes shelfware, and it's expensive shelfware. You know, we don't really get a good analysis, especially with requirements in architecture. And I saw Oliver had that one funny line in his last slide there about art, what, you know, even the word architecture, how it's used in our industry, of course. And of course, this silly one here where, you know, there's an assumption made that all these tools and even something as not simple, but as mundane, I guess, as document control, or you could be more general, information management, is assumed to be operational, and it's not seen. You know, you've just formed a new company with 8 consulting firms and a whole bunch of sub-consultants, and you've maybe got 200 brand new engineers it's like you're starting a new business, and none of this is set up and running or tested. There's been no user acceptance testing, but it's all just assumed it'll just happen like magic. So, and this is actually, you know, I took this from the presentation that we're going to give later on, that we were supposed to give on Tuesday, John and I, you know, that projects are really doomed to fail years before they actually kick off. So what are we going to do about it? So this is just a summary of everything I just said, actually. So this is the scenario that I see happens. You know, you get the large suite of plans, in parallel, design deliverables are being, you know, are being created. That's, you know, show progress and get paid. The gate process isn't reviewed, understood, or possibly doesn't even run. If it does, it's not policed because there's no QA. So it's always lagging. Yeah, there's the comment on QA. So the, you know, modus operandi is keep moving, flood the zone with design deliverables, and inevitably those events overcome things like gate waivers, if there's even waivers, and the project just steamrolls ahead because, you know, the payments are looming. So it's, you know, so we need to overcome the inertia, which we were just talking about with Oliver. And a lot of this stuff that's supposed to be done in the concept segment is either ignored or not done, or done very, very poorly. So you end up with system not accepted, massive change orders, difficult to maintain, missed functionality, etc. So yeah, we just sort of talked about that, pre-design load dollars. And this is, I had to frame this. You guys have seen some of this stuff before, but I had to frame this because I didn't know who was going to show up to this, you know, this future of systems engineering conversation. And part of me was just trying to educate INCOSE members and hopefully senior folks as to what, you know, we're missing in our industry segment. So that's, you know, that's, to me, that's half the battle, is convincing INCOSE, you know, the level of our immaturity, at least in North America. As same, you know, same concept here, you know, that if it's not rational, if the initial you know, 8 to 15% of the accrued cost determines 70% of the life cycle cost, then it's kind of reckless to not spend any money doing the homework up front, you know, the capital planning, the concept work, all the stuff that should be done before an actual design effort is reached. And then there's the silver bullet, you know, the supplier shall comply with ISO 15288, whatever that means. So rhetorical, you know, how does a civil contractor deal with that? Well, they don't. they just, you know, they don't need the bureaucracy. We just talked about that with Oliver. They sub it out, they ignore it, they negotiate it away, or a combination of those. And I've seen all of that happen while I was at MARTA. Actually, I saw all of that happen. So there's a consistent theme: poor missing requirements is failure, decades of project evidence is available, hidden project costs, you know, are after, which we talked about earlier, accountability fade, because the reward structure is wrong. And if the reward structure is wrong, humans are humans, they react to the reward structure, and they're not going to change until the reward structure changes. So And, we talked about that, Oliver mentioned it in his discussion. Staff are rotating out after a few years. Well, there's no accountability then. So, transportation must adapt or perish, because if it doesn't, somebody else will start doing it, and maybe that Ford concept that I mentioned earlier from the automotive working group is a possible model. It's a possible solution, that if transportation agencies are so mired in older thinking, and they don't get up to speed and make changes to keep up with all the stuff that's swirling around them, then somebody else is going to do it. So the solution approach, I just quickly was trying to raise the flag for TWG and our MOU with APTA, and we're also pulling in what we can from PMI. And I tried to give a nod toward the infrastructure working group. We try to collaborate as much as we can with smart cities. So there's the MOU, because I didn't know how many people in INCOSE actually knew about this, and INCOSE and the RIG heavily involved, or trying to be in our monthly collaborative sessions. Then just the terminology aspect. It's ironic that the phrase systems engineering is ambiguous, when that's one of the primary 9 rules for writing good requirements. But trying to make a little bit of progress, and I think I have, with the subcommittee being permitted to change its name to system lifecycle engineering. That at least pauses people in their tracks. That's a poor pun, apologies. When you're having a conversation with them for the first time about what it is you do. Then I went into a little bit of the lifecycle stuff, and how the APTA subcommittee is trying to distribute the SLE toolbox appropriately, especially in the early stages. Again, this is the there it is, 24748. This is the mapping that we're using. This is the prototype life cycle that we'd like to incorporate into the framework of a standard. Yeah, and then I think was that pretty much it. The initial sections will focus on the 5 early life cycle phases. So business planning, project design, procurement, and mobilization. So this is all the totally uncool stuff that engineers in theory didn't go to school to care about, because they want to design things and provide solutions. We all kind of went through that. But if we don't start applying systems lifecycle engineering to the early life cycles, it's just nothing's going to change. So summary, working with APTA and external groups to generate a practical standard, sort of all we can do. And obviously looking at all 6 of the PESTEL stakeholder groups or viewpoints, I guess is a better way to say it. So that was it. That was what I was going to say, that I never got to say to the FUSE panel, which I think is a funny name as an electrical engineer. So
very good, Dale. Yeah.
Dale, somebody joked at a prior, it wasn't at this conference, but you spell out SE, not Z, but SE, right?
Yeah.
And now take FUSE and take the first 2 characters and spell them out the same way.
Sorry,
instead of FUSE, you could say FUSE.
Oh, that is funny. Yeah.
And nobody else thought of that. Yeah. But
right. Can you do that?
Oh yeah, that's too funny. Oh geez. Yeah, so I mean, most of that presentation was really aimed at INCOSE, to try to let anybody that attended understand our position in transportation and infrastructure, what we're battling against, which is really and as Oliver said, been doing it for over a decade. So that's why I was so interested, and still am very interested to see what Randy said about the INCOSE mission goals and objectives and methodology, on his panel with Jen and company. So I'm going to definitely try to download that, and might even get him in maybe next year if he's. They had to rush him away. I hope he's okay. He was in the hospital. He sort of passed out, and I talked to him. He did get back to Phoenix, but he missed Randy Iliff. Randy.
Oh, I didn't realize.
He collapsed. Yeah. So they had to rush him to the hospital, and he finally got out, I think the same day he was going to travel home that night, and the same day that I was flying home.
Yeah.
So he missed not as much of the conference as me, but the last 2 days for sure. So I hope he's okay. And then maybe bring him in and have an earnest discussion, or maybe just rediscuss the whole thing that Jen was trying to discuss as one of our webinars next year. It might be
I
worthwhile.
just want to say, who says you can't do the same thing as part of this web series?
Yeah, it would be good, I think. And I think our group, would be, I mean, we obviously didn't have a great turnout today, but I think our if we, advertise it well in advance, we could get a much better turnout, and it'd probably be, well worth it, I think.
Just fair notice, I have another meeting in 5 minutes. I probably have to.
Oh yeah, it looks, same here. Actually, I got to jump to another one at
Okay.
2:30, but hopefully this was
Hey, I think that was very interesting. Thanks, Dale. Thanks, Oliver. It's always good to get your opinions on that special occasion out there. And did you what did you like best about Hawaii?
You mean the place of a conference?
The place.
I keep joking to my wife, but that's my happy place. This was my 3rd time, and in 2012 was the first time we went there. And it was you get there, the palm trees, already palm trees from East Vacation, and then the music and the calm weather and everything was like so relaxing, and it's basically the best place I've ever seen. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still like an airport, it's still roadways, right, and concrete and buildings, but I love it. I don't know what else to say.
Well, they even have traffic in Honolulu.
Oh, they sure do. Yeah.
It wasn't that bad actually when I was there. Maybe because it was summer or so and people I don't stay away, but I mean, they have their own horror stories for light rail system, right? The HART system.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard some interesting because when we were talking with the Uber driver about that system, because he said, oh, the usual conversation. Oh, what are you here for? And I said, well, sort of business going, I do a lot of work in transportation. He said, oh, you must be familiar with our light rail. Well, yeah, I think that's what he called it. But I said, oh yeah, I've heard all the stories. I said, how are they spinning it here locally? He said, oh, they had the ribbon cutting, and it sort of works. But he said it runs from, and we were just going by this stadium at the time. It's funny. He said, see that stadium there? They're dismantling it. That's the segment that they got done. Was it's running to the dismantled segment. They don't have the airport segment running yet. So I just laughed. I said, yeah, I've heard all about it and the woes of our dear friends at Hitachi, but yeah.
Hawaii has its own time scale. It's like everything's in a different space,
time. Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's what the driver said too. He said, you'll notice I'm not driving that fast. I said, yeah, I see you're very relaxed, and and he said, well, that's the way we do it here.
Yeah, so, right. They even have that sign hang loose, right? But like, don't rush it.
Yeah,
it's Hawaii.
Yeah.
And, anyway, so I hate to say, but I really have to sign off.
Yeah. Okay.
Fun talking to you guys, and then hopefully we see each other next time.
That's it.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah. Hopefully.
Thank you. You got it recorded, right? Yeah. Okay. Hey, Dale. Some of the previous ones haven't been posted on the.
Yeah, and I see Hokie is on. Yeah, we'll have to get Hokie. Maybe we'll have a quick half-an-hour meeting with just us and Hokie. Hey, and I was also going to ask both of you guys if you're okay to stay for a minute or two. I've been approached by Jacobs.
Oh.
I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts because I think you've both. Well, I know you. I can't remember where you are now, Dennis.
Well,
I think
Dennis used to work there.
Yeah, I did. I noticed that we're still recording.
You better
let's-
take that off.
Oh, geez, yeah, let's not do that. Oh, no. Oh, please ask the host, how do we stop? Close recording. I don't know how to stop it now. It won't let me.
Let's see.
If I go up.
Please ask host to permission to record.
Oh,
Okay.
you got the same message I did.
Yeah, so I think somebody else is actually the host, and it's probably Oki's, whoever
Must
logs
be.
in as they, so we'll have to do it on a different channel.
Yeah,
or
I'll
something later.
maybe set up a separate call and we
Yeah.
won't record it and have a career advice chat.
Okay. There you go. Hey, well,
Anyway.
take care, Dale, and take care, Dennis. It's been
Yep.
good to catch up with you.
You too.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, bye now.
Yep.
Thanks,
cheerio.
guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.